Hello, welcome back. Good to see you at the PowerShell 10th anniversary celebration event. We've covered a lot already. We've got loads more stuff to show you. But before we get to the next session, it's Matt and Keith here, by the way, we want to answer that question because through the power of the internet, and most specifically the power of Skype, we've managed to get the answer to one of the previous questions from Dave T. Which cloud service was Roman using for the rain data? Now, if that question means nothing to you, it's because you didn't watch the Sprinkler controlled by PowerShell session earlier on. So when it's available on demand, go and check it out. So which cloud service was Roman using for the rain data? The answer was...
It's Wunderground, spelled WUNDERGROUND, wunderground.com.
Yeah. So underground and then a W in front of it.
Yes.
Yep, so you can go there. You'd have to probably log in and sign up for the service. I don't know whether there's any charge associated with that, but that's going to give you the data associated with the rain. So yeah, cool stuff. So
all right.
That's that for that question. We'll come back to more Q&A later on, so don't worry. Keep them coming in on channel9.msdn.com. We will try and get through as many as we can. And as Keith said, for those that we don't answer, there will be a blog post going up on the PowerShell website that will answer the rest. So make them as tricky as you possibly can, for Keith especially.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, I'd like to make you work for a living. So what's next?
Well, actually, now we're going to let somebody else work for a living. This is Mr. Ryan Yates. Ryan is one of our PowerShell MVPs. He's been very, very active on the PowerShell GitHub community, and he's going to talk to us about the open source and community contributions. How are we doing today there, Ryan?
Yeah, we're doing really well. I'm just suffering a little bit of jet lag from the MVP Summit last week, so that's been a fun day getting over that today. But other than that, doing well.
Outstanding. Cool. So we can see me twice there in your view if you want to go ahead and minimize that thing. There we go.
Okay, so just for everybody that's aware, as Keith said, yes, I'm an MVP in PowerShell, or as now it's known, Cloud and Data Center Management. But a little bit more about who am I? So I'm Ryan Yates. I'm 26, Cloud and Data Center Management MVP, predominantly focused on Windows 10, PowerShell, Azure, and historically SharePoint. I coordinate in the UK PowerShell user groups. I believe we've got one in London on the 23rd of this month, and then Manchester as well is coming up again soon. I also, with Tobias Weltner, help co-organise with the PowerShell Conference EU, and that was a great conference last year, and we're accepting speaker submissions, so if you didn't know about that, hit me up on Twitter. I run my own company, Redigitize, and PowerShell's taken me all around the world. I've spoken at SharePoint events, SQL events, PowerShell events, and other technology events all worldwide. That's all I've got from my slidey slides. So let's get out of the slideshow and get into some real code. So what I want to show you today is stuff around the PowerShell gallery, around Twitter, around the PowerShell repo, and what this really means for us within the community. So we're predominantly going to start with the PowerShell gallery because this is somewhere that for me is keen to my heart about where the community goes and grows going forward. So if you haven't used the PowerShell gallery at all yet, I'd ask why for a start, but also the first place to go to is www.powershellgallery.com. Now, if you're running Windows 10, which I am and I have been for ages, you can actually start using and interact with the PowerShell gallery via the PowerShell Get module and package management module, which I'll go into a bit more detail. But one of the things I wanted to point out here is that this is a repository of not just modules, but there's also scripts as well. So as we can see here, we've got the ability to find module, find script, save module, and save script. So we'll go through all of those in a little bit of detail throughout today as well. But this is the key thing for me. We've got just under 6 million total item downloads from the gallery, with 5,500 items. That's different module versions, different script versions, with a unique count of 1,270. So that means that there's a lot of stuff out there that people have contributed, and we'll go into some of the details about that in the course of this next sort of 20 minutes or so. So one of the things about the gallery, and this is some of the stuff that I've published to the gallery, is that you get the option to see all all your items and what you've published. So I've published a couple of modules and a couple of scripts. The one that I've published recently, Install About Help, fixed some of the issues that we had with About Help topics missing, which I believe has now been fixed yet again by the PowerShell team. So that's something that I could probably drop away from the gallery. But as you can see, I've got stuff here for working with Pasta, doing some helper functions for Pasta, Eventbrite module as well for interacting with the Eventbrite API, and also installing Windows 10 RSAT tools. So that's some of the stuff that I've published to the gallery. But just as an interesting one, we've got some statistics here. So this is the statistics that the gallery shows, and I've got some more statistics that I'm going to go through with you as well. But as you can see, we've got a large number of stuff that's been downloaded in the last 6 weeks. I believe, Keith, this is updated every week, is it not? It's in real time. That's even better. That's better than what I thought. I did look at this ages ago, so apologies for thinking it was weekly. But one of the things that we've got with this is the way that the community kind of comes together. So if you can see here, I've just got a nice easy search in GitHub for PowerShell. So we can find 11,000 repositories on GitHub that use PowerShell in one form or another. And within this, we can see there's 1 million different items of code. We've got 36,000 issues. We've got 8,000 wikis, and we've got 221 users. I think that 221 is probably a lot lower than what it really is, because we've got loads of people that have put PowerShell functions and scripts. Now, I think all of these people, like Rambling Cookie Monster and Lazy Win Admin, both of them are PowerShell MVPs as well. They've probably got chance to change this repo that they've got as PowerShell now that we've got PowerShell open sourced. So one of the things with the PowerShell being open sourced is, well, this is where the future is of PowerShell. This is where if you've got an issue or you want to change something with PowerShell, you can go and do something about it. And as we can see here, if we go into pull requests, I've updated a few things in the past. So we can go to author and we can have a quick look. So as you can see, we've got author there filtered by myself. Won't show anything open at the moment. I'll just give it a second for that to load. But we can see here that we've got 3 closed PRs. So that means that I've managed to add stuff into the PowerShell repo. So that means that anybody can. It's an open community, and I think that's a great thing going forward. I really was pleased when I saw that PowerShell was being open source, because I know Jeffrey had wanted to do this for a while and had teased us for probably about a year or so beforehand that this was on its way. But let's get into some code now, because I really don't like just showing GitHub and the PowerShell gallery, but I've got some functions that I've written around the PowerShell gallery, because I used to run an auto Twitter bot around the gallery. So some of the stuff that we want to look at is within here, we've got different repositories that I'm going to go and show you. You can have your own private repositories. As you can see here, I've got a couple of commands for registering some repositories, and we're going to publish a module to one of these new repositories, so we can go through this with you. So first of all, let's just get this PS repository, and you can see straight away that we've got the PS gallery. Now, the installations policy is untrusted. This is by default, and the reason for that is because in real time you don't know everything that has been uploaded to the gallery, and although there are antivirus scans and malware scans done on everything that's uploaded, it's still due diligence on your part as a user of the gallery to make sure that you know what you're installing. So if you ever do want to install something from the gallery, you can use the save module before you use the install module functions. So within the PowerShell get and package management, we have a number of different functions as well. So let's just get all of these. So as you can see here, we've got find command, find DSC resource, find module. Let's make that the other way around, so we can see which source they're from. So we've got within PowerShell get, we've got find command, find DSC resource, module, role capability, and script. So these are things that interact with the PowerShell gallery API to be able to pull back information from the PowerShell gallery on whatever search terms you've done. So for example, we can have a look at finding a module for Azure. That's pretty common one for being able to do, so that we can find that. But the ones that I like within this module are actually these get installed module and get script, installed script. So these allow us to see what we've installed on our machine from the galleries, whether that is from the PowerShell gallery, whether that's a personal gallery, or whether it's a private gallery. So let's get back into the code on this side. So what we will see here when we run this find module as URM is this will go off, and as you can see, I've run it with Verbo, so we can see that we're hitting the PowerShell gallery, the API location, which is v2. It's telling us, we've said it's not trusted, but it is a registered gallery, so we can see that this is not using the repository parameter, so it's going to search all of our repositories. This will make a difference going forward when you start adding your own, but when you start adding your own, I always set PS bound parameter values, default values for the gallery to be PS gallery. So let's go and register this new gallery. So this is one that I've already got hosted on my machine. So this is just in my local OneDrive folder. This is just a private gallery folder with a load of different folders in there. So let's go and register that. And as you can see, that's nice and quickly, and I can just do find module from. And as you can see, we've got loads of different commands, so we can do. So this is going to go and find everything from my local PowerShell gallery. So whilst that's running, let me just open up and show that to you, what this looks like. So this is what it looks like in the back end. As I said, this is all of these modules that I've downloaded from the gallery and other places as well. I was doing a lot of testing with the PowerShell Get module about 6 months ago before it became open source, because there was lots of changes happening with it. So as you can see, we've got lots of different versions like XSQL Server here, 1.4, 1.6, so on and so forth. But actually what the PowerShell gallery does in the background, it uses a NuGet provider. So we actually see here that the additional Git things, this is one of the modules that I haven't published to the gallery because it's still not finished yet. This is at version 0.0.1, but this is in this new NUPKG file, which is essentially just a zip file. It's not going to open it nicely for us. I double click, but if we just go back up to the top up here, we can actually just open that up, and we can see that this is actually all of the metadata. Visual Studio Code tried to open it. So this is all of the metadata that we've got in here, and within this NuGet package folder, as I said, it's essentially a zip file, and we get this new spec file which holds all the additional metadata that the gallery uses, and then we've got our PSD1, PSM1, and any additional tests or anything else that we've packaged within that module. So that's something that I find useful. I constantly am playing around with NuGet, seeing as NuGet's where most of the work comes from for the gallery. And as you can see, it doesn't want to open that, so did not expect it to. But if we open the new spec, this should open fine in Visual Studio Code. He says. As we can see here, this has just got the metadata that's pulled back from the PowerShell gallery. So this is just all of the metadata that we actually have ability to get using find module or find script. So I've done some bits of calculations on some other things beforehand. So let's have a look at some of the stuff that we've got within the PowerShell gallery. So I've got this function that I called write gallery numbers, and this just pulls information from all of the modules in the PowerShell gallery. It then pulls all of the metadata out from the additional metadata property of each of the modules, and then we can see some of the data that we've got within this. And this is actually almost live, Keith, so this data is only about half an hour old. So this will be interesting for you to be able to see. So we can see we've got 4,658 commandlets within the gallery. We've got 16,754 functions. We've got 1,532 DSC resources, and no workflows registered within any of our modules within the gallery. But there are 1,095 modules currently in the gallery. So I thought, well, let's see how much sort of that brings to us per module. So we've got roughly 4 commandlets, 8 functions, and 1 DSC resource per module in the gallery. Now, some of that is because the metadata given to the gallery when we have our PSD1 file, our module manifest, doesn't actually include all of the metadata that we need for the gallery to be able to pull this information back. And as we can see, we've also got here, we've got 127 modules that, or 126 that Microsoft have published, and 968 that have been published by other people. So that means there's a huge community that isn't just Microsoft, which I think is great. And as we can see here, we've got our top 10 authors to the gallery. Should really have taken Microsoft off, but we've got Joel Bennett, another MVP. We've got Ian Brighton, who has released a number of these really good modules, including Lability and PS Scribo, which I used both of those. We've got Warren Fame, who's just recently become an MVP as well, who's released a number of different modules. And then we've got Jim Christopher as well, another MVP from many years with PowerShell, who's also released modules to the gallery. So that's pretty much some good real-time information that we've got from the gallery. And to get this information back, let's just open this up. I've got, as I said, I ran this PS Gallery Autobot years and years ago. So this pulls all of the information from the gallery, sorts the object by name, and just makes sure that it's doing this until current modules count is not equal to 0. And then we pull all of this information back out. So this used to run every hour and push it all into an XML file, and then I realized that XML grows a bit too much for what I wanted to do. So I'm repurposing this to use SQL backend in Azure to repackage the PS Gallery Autobot, because one of the things I find useful with the gallery is finding out stuff that's new, stuff that's come out that people aren't aware of, and I thought the one way that I find that useful is via Twitter, just to see something that had been used before. And as I spoke with Keith last week, I was looking to see if we can get the Twitter handle added to PowerShell Gallery so that people can get auto-tweeted of how many downloads they've had of their current modules. Something like that I think brings a bit of gamification into the way that we work with the gallery. And I've seen some other similar ones with some of the JavaScript galleries as well. So, Keith, do you think that's useful? And as you can see, there's a load of stuff that I've got written in here. So yes, we can hear you, Keith, or at least I can. And I've just been mentioned by Rob Sewell that we need to get some Power BI for all of this data from the gallery. And I've actually been speaking to Rob about this in quite some depth. And I'm looking to get this set up in the next couple of weeks when I get some free time, so that we can have some dashboards that people can look at for how the gallery has grown in trends on top of the data that we've already got on PowerShell Gallery, which I think would be useful as well.
Adopting the gallery and in using it. The thing that I would ask you is, as you have been working with it yourself, have you encountered anything that made it difficult or easy for you to interact with the gallery? Anything in particular that you would share with the people who wanted to publish to it?
So the gallery, I find, is really, really easy to publish to. I'm just going to use this example at the bottom here to publish this module that I've written, ISEQ, which adds a bit of additional functionality to the PowerShell ISE. I have been speaking with David Wilson about seeing whether I can look at hooking it into the PS Editor API to port this to Visual Studio Code as well, just as a sort of a pet project. But what we're going to do with this publish module, because I've already got everything set up just about for it, so just set up that repository. So what we're going to do is we're just going to publish this module. So the reason why I'm using the path element and not the name is because what I want to do is packaging part of the module is package everything which is within that folder. So if we go in and we just do a quick dir, we can see we've got our private functions, our public functions, and we've got different numbers of tests and sample licenses. Because this was something that I built well before Plaster came along, for making it easier for me to start building new modules, start building new scripts. Just made my life a lot easier. And I've talked about this to the Mississippi PowerShell user group back in February this year, via Skype as well, which was an interesting one because it was 2:30 in the morning my time. So let's go back into this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to publish this module, and I'm going to show you with the verbose output. The reason why we've got this NuGet API key is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't actually matter what we do with that API key when it's to a local repository that is just a file share, because all it needs is something there to say it has a key to publish to. If you were to publish to the PowerShell gallery, you will get an API key online with your account. So what this is doing at the moment is to make sure it can package all of the dependencies. It's loading all of the modules, and this is one of the things that I'm looking to change in how the PowerShell get module works, just to make this a bit more performant, because this takes a long time on my machine. Because as you can see, I've got a lot of Azure RM modules and other modules as well loaded. So we're going to leave that to do that in the background while we go back into showing the gallery. So when you log in, and I'm just going to sign out just to show this to everybody. When you get to the sign-in page for the PowerShell gallery, you've got two choices. You can use an Azure AD account. I've got an account within my Azure AD tenant, or you can just use a personal account. So a personal account is at Hotmail or an Outlook account, typically. So once we sign in, this will show us just this packaging page. If we just click on our name. So my username, as it is pretty much everywhere, is KillerSuit. That goes back to playing too much Hitman years and years ago. But as we can see here, we've got this API key, and it was actually noted in a previous call with yourself, Keith, I believe, that the API key didn't used to be fully hidden, and then within about a week it was hidden. That was some good examples of good feedback.
One of the things that you can do quickly with a web service is you can make changes a lot faster than you can in Windows.
Yes, this is true. So one of the ways that we've got to publish, as you see here, we've got publish module name, and the NuGet API key. So in this case, we do need to pass the API key because we are publishing to the we would be publishing to the PowerShell gallery. When you have, and it's still running, I expect that to take another minute or so before that's finished. So when you've got multiple repositories defined, you do have to tell it which repository you want to publish to. So the PowerShell gallery is called PS Gallery. I use PR Local, which is PowerShell Repository Local, just as my one that I use for it. So I'm just going to open up a brand new PowerShell session, just to show you the stuff that's in my PR Local.
So as you're doing that, one of the things I want to point out very quickly is you can set up PowerShell repository locally a couple of different ways. One is that you can just set up a file share. Another is that you can use a NuGet environment. And by the way, what we call those NUPKGs, NUPKEGs. I think it's because of the association with beer. And then the last thing is, of course, you can use a recently published DSC resource that's available on GitHub to set up your own copy of the PowerShell Gallery code from a few months ago, and we'll keep it updated as we go forward.
So I have set up in the past one of the PS private galleries, as Keith mentioned just there. I actually started looking into wrapping it into a DSC resource with Lability module, so people could just very quickly go and download this Lability module script that will go off and create a new virtual machine with the PS Gallery all installed. I had some issues with it and then decided I was going to leave it for a while. Got sidetracked onto something else. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to search my PR local repository for all of the modules that I've got by using the name -star. This should be a lot quicker than what it is being. I do not know why this is taking as long as it is. And that's still running even still. Interesting.
It's all about bandwidth. We're getting to talk to you instead of you actually getting to finish the task.
This is true. So, just a bit of feedback there. So, in this new private gallery, we will see there's nothing in that at this moment because it's still not published it. No. Just not want to be doing that today. This is probably one of the interesting bits with running on the latest Windows 10 build. Something always changes, and it updated about 20 minutes before I started this session. I was scared that it was going to be a full update. So yeah, this should not take as long as this. As you can see, this is not something that you'd want to happen every time you want to publish a module to the gallery. Also, writing verbose output does also add time to the way that it runs. And as you can see, this is now starting to bring back items from my PR local. Again, as I say, it shouldn't be this slow at all. I've got quite a beefy machine, so I do not know why this is running so slow. It's probably Skype that's doing it.
Yep.
So as you can see, this is all stuff that's in this PR local repository. So this is as I said before, this is not a file share as such. It's just a folder within my OneDrive, but it could be a file share. It could also be part of the PowerShell private gallery, which if we go to GitHub, we can see the source code for that. So we can see the PS private gallery in here. And as you can see, we've got a lot of people that have added some issues to this. I knew this was a sort of a side project for Raghu to set up for the PowerShell, the DevOps Global Summit in Bellevue last year. Even this year. And this will allow you to run this either on Windows 10 or Windows OS that contains WMF 5.1, which is still in private, in preview stage. But Server 2016 has the preview version baked in. Windows 10, past the anniversary update, has it built in as well, so you can deploy it on your machine if you wanted to. I tried to do it on Server 2012 R2. It wasn't playing ball for me at all. But there's a lot that you can do with this, and this is something that I would say go and have a play with, go and enjoy, because this is something for an enterprise that they're going to need to be looking at for doing a lot easier internal code sharing going forward.
So Ryan, Keith, I think we're going to run short on time here. I think you just said that's about it. Is there anything else that you want to tell the folks before we go on?
No, I was just going to show that this is actually now just published this ISEQ module into my new private gallery. So that's actually just finished up just there, just nicely. It does show here that it's got some dependencies because of the way that the module is built. If you've got dependencies on your machine, it doesn't need to try and publish those dependencies to the gallery as well. Because it would expect that the gallery already has them. So, for example, this has a dependency on the PS Script Analyzer and Pasta, as we can see from here. Pasta and PS Script Analyzer. So that's about all I've got for you guys. I do tweet a lot at Ryan Yates 1990. I also run the PS Gallery on Twitter as well, which hasn't tweeted for a while, but it will be soon enough, with some more real-time data as we go forward.
Thank you very much.
That's been helpful.
Indeed,
and
it has.
Thank you for having me, Keith.
Awfully glad you could join us, and thank you, Ryan. So I think we're going to go ahead and go on to our next commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from some people who have been working on PowerShell for a very long time.
See you then.